Have you ever wondered what life would be like without electricity? No lights, no phones, no computers. It's almost impossible to imagine, right? Well, a huge reason we have all this technology is thanks to one man, Michael Faraday. But here's the kicker. This scientific genius had almost no formal education. His story is one of pure curiosity, relentless hard work, and a passion that literally changed the world. So how did a boy from a poor family with only a basic school education become one of the greatest scientists in history? Stick around because this is a story you won't want to miss. Michael Faraday was born in 1791 in a small town just outside of London. His family was not wealthy. His father was a blacksmith who was often sick, and the family frequently struggled to make ends meet. Young Michael only received a very basic education in reading, writing, and arithmetic. By the time he was 13, he had to leave school to start working and help support his family. He got a job as an apprentice to a bookbinder and bookseller. Now, for most people, this would just be a job. But for Faraday, it was like being given the keys to a kingdom of knowledge. Surrounded by books all day, Faraday didn't just bind them. He devoured them. He read every scientific text he could get his hands on, especially those about chemistry and the hot new topic of the day, electricity. He wasn't just reading, though. He was experimenting. Using whatever spare materials he could find, he built his own simple electrostatic generators and chemical batteries, trying to replicate the experiments he read about in the books. He was teaching himself science, one book and one experiment at a time. He even started attending public lectures to learn more. The real turning point in his life came in 1812. A customer at the bookshop gave him tickets to a series of lectures by the most famous chemist in England, Sir Humphry Davy, at the prestigious Royal Institution. Faraday was captivated. He took meticulous notes, over 300 pages of them, and then, in a bold move, he bound them into a beautiful book and sent them to Davy, along with a letter asking for a job. He basically said, "I love science, and I want to work for you in any capacity." Initially, Davy didn't have a position for him, but fate intervened. Davy injured his eye in a lab accident and needed a temporary assistant. He remembered the young man with the impressive notes. He hired Faraday. This was his big break. Faraday started as little more than a lab assistant and bottle washer, but his sharp mind and incredible work ethic quickly became apparent. Davy was impressed, and soon Faraday became his indispensable scientific assistant. In 1813, Davy decided to embark on a grand scientific tour of Europe, and he took Faraday with him. This trip was like a university education for Faraday. He met some of the greatest scientific minds of the age, like André-Marie Ampère in Paris and Alessandro Volta in Italy. Yes, the guy the Volt is named after. He saw cutting-edge experiments and was exposed to the forefront of scientific thought. He wasn't just cleaning glassware anymore. He was discussing complex scientific ideas with the masters. When they returned to London, Faraday's career at the Royal Institution began to skyrocket. He started conducting his own research and making his own discoveries. His early work was in chemistry. He discovered new chemical compounds, including benzene, which is fundamental to organic chemistry. He also figured out how to liquefy gases like chlorine, which was a major breakthrough. He was quickly making a name for himself as a brilliant experimentalist. But it was in the field of electricity and magnetism that Faraday would make his most earth-shattering discoveries. At the time, scientists knew that an electric current could create a magnetic field. The big question was, could it work the other way around? Could a magnet be used to create an electric current? Everyone was trying to figure it out, but no one could crack the code. In 1821, Faraday had his first major breakthrough. He created a device that showed how electricity and magnetism were connected in a continuous loop. He essentially built the first-ever electric motor. It was a simple setup, a wire dangling in a pool of mercury with a magnet in the middle. When he passed a current through the wire, it began to spin continuously around the magnet. He had converted electrical energy into mechanical motion. This was the ancestor of every electric motor that powers our world today, from your blender to an electric car. This was a huge achievement, but Faraday was just getting started. He was obsessed with the idea of generating electricity from magnetism. For 10 years, he relentlessly experimented. He tried wrapping wires around magnets, moving magnets near wires, doing everything he could think of. He faced countless failures, but he never gave up. His notebooks from this period are filled with sketches of his experiments, each one a testament to his persistence. Then on August 29, 1831, he had his eureka moment. He took an iron ring and wrapped two separate insulated coils of wire around it. He connected one coil to a battery and the other to a galvanometer, a device that detects electric current. When he connected the first coil to the battery, he saw the needle on the galvanometer twitch. And when he disconnected it, the needle twitched again. There was no current flowing when the battery was steadily connected, only at the moment of connection and disconnection. What he had discovered was electromagnetic induction. A changing magnetic field creates an electric current. It wasn't the magnet itself, but the change in its magnetic influence that mattered. This was the principle behind the electric generator. Just a few weeks later, he built the first dynamo by rotating a copper disc between the poles of a magnet, generating a continuous electric current. He had finally done it. He had found a way to convert motion into electricity. This discovery laid the foundation for the entire electrical power industry. Faraday didn't stop there. He went on to propose the revolutionary idea of lines of force to explain electric and magnetic phenomena. At the time, scientists thought of forces as acting mysteriously at a distance. But Faraday visualized invisible fields filling the space around magnets and electric charges. He saw these lines of force as real physical entities. This concept of the field was radical, and many of his contemporaries, who were more mathematically inclined, were skeptical. But it was this intuitive, visual way of thinking that allowed him to make his breakthroughs. This very idea would later be formalized mathematically by James Clerk Maxwell and become a cornerstone of modern physics. Despite his immense fame, Faraday remained a humble and deeply religious man. He had no interest in wealth or titles. He famously turned down a knighthood, saying he preferred to remain plain Mr. Faraday to the end. He also turned down a request from the British government to develop chemical weapons for the Crimean War, citing ethical and religious objections. His passion was for discovery and for sharing that knowledge with the public. One of his greatest legacies, besides his scientific discoveries, was the Christmas lectures at the Royal Institution. He started these lectures for a young audience to explain complex scientific ideas in a simple, engaging, and exciting way. He was a brilliant communicator, using dramatic demonstrations to captivate his audience. These lectures continue to this day and have inspired generations of young people to pursue science. His famous lecture series, The Chemical History of a Candle, is a masterclass in scientific storytelling, taking a simple, everyday object and using it to explain fundamental principles of chemistry and physics. Michael Faraday's story is more than just a list of discoveries. It's a powerful reminder that curiosity and perseverance can overcome any obstacle. He started with nothing but a curious mind and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. He showed the world that science isn't just for the privileged or the formally educated. It's for anyone who is willing to observe, question, and experiment. From a bookbinder's apprentice to the father of electricity, his journey is one of the most inspiring in the history of science. The next time you flip a light switch, charge your phone, or use any electric device, take a moment to remember plain Mr. Faraday, the man who saw the invisible forces that shape our world and harnessed them for the good of all humanity. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please hit the like button and subscribe for more stories about the people who changed our world. See you next time.